AutoSys showed success, but the database never ran the stored procedure. SQLPlus returned exit code 0 on a syntax error, and nobody noticed for months. Let's break down AutoSys integration with SAP and Oracle, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. AutoSys integrates with SAP through the SAP XBP interface, using job type S in JIL. For Oracle, you typically use CMD jobs calling SQLPlus or job type, O for Oracle Elastic Block Store concurrent programs. The key point: AutoSys trusts exit codes. If a job exits 0, it's marked success, even if the underlying work failed. SQLPlus by design returns exit code 0 for successful parsing and execution attempts, even if SQL statements inside fail. It only returns non-zero for fatal errors like connection failure. This means a syntax error or a runtime aura error still yields exit 0. AutoSys trusts that code and marks the job success, while the database remains unchanged. Here's the classic mistake: calling SQLPlus directly in a CMD job. If update proc_SQL has a syntax error, SQLPlus prints an error and exits 0. AutoSys sees success. The database never executed the script. The fix is a wrapper script that runs SQLPlus, captures output, and checks for error patterns. If any aura, SB2, or PLS error is found, the wrapper exits non-zero. This forces AutoSys to mark the job failed. Let's see the code. This wrapper runs SQLPlus with the credentials and script passed as arguments. It redirects all output to a file, then greps for common error patterns. If any are found, it prints the output and exits 1. Otherwise, it exits 0. This is the pattern you must use for every Oracle SQLPlus job. AutoSys integrates with SAP using job type. A specialized SAP agent communicates with SAP via RFC calls to the XBP interface. The XBP user must have specific authorizations. If that user's password expires or the account locks, AutoSys jobs will stay pending indefinitely with no error in AutoSys logs. Here's a typical SAP job definition. It triggers an ABAP report in SAP. Note the job type, S, and the SAP server name, SAP report name, and SAP client attributes. The condition ensures this runs after a trading load job, but if the XBP user is locked, this job will never start. For Oracle eBusiness Suite, use job type. AutoSys submits the concurrent program to the Elastic Block Store Concurrent Manager. But AutoSys only tracks submission success, not execution success. The program can fail internally, and AutoSys will still show success. This job submits an Oracle Elastic Block Store concurrent program. Note the job type, O, and the Elastic Block Store specific attributes. Even if the concurrent program fails internally, AutoSys will show success because the submission was successful. You must check the concurrent manager logs separately. The most common enterprise workflow involves 5 steps orchestrated by AutoSys. Each step depends on the previous one. If any step fails silently, like an Oracle job that exits 0 but didn't process data, the entire chain proceeds with bad data. Here's the complete 5-step workflow in JIL. Notice the conditions linking each job. The Oracle job uses a wrapper script. The SAP job runs after Oracle. But without validation jobs between steps, a silent failure in Oracle would still trigger SAP. The key pattern is to insert validation jobs between integration points. After an Oracle stored procedure, run a select count * to verify rows were processed. Only if validation passes, trigger the next step. This catches silent failures before they cascade. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that $2.4 million incident happened. The team called SQLPlus directly without a wrapper. The SQL script had a missing semicolon, a syntax error. SQLPlus printed SB242, unknown command, and exited 0. AutoSys saw 0 and marked the job success. The database never executed the stored procedure. No rows were updated. The job succeeded every night for 18 months. The root cause is that SQLPlus returns exit code even when a SQL script fails, so AutoSys marks the job success while the database never executed the stored procedure. The misconfigured code is a bare SQLPlus call without error handling. The fix is to deploy the wrapper script to all database jobs. The wrapper captures output, greps for error patterns, and exits non-zero if any are found. Additionally, add whenever SQLERROR exits SQLSQLCODE to SQL scripts to catch runtime errors. This ensures AutoSys accurately reflects the true outcome. This is the exact line that caused the $2.4 million incident. SQLPlus returns even when the SQL script has a syntax error. AutoSys sees 0 and marks the job success. The database never executed the stored procedure. Always wrap SQLPlus in a script that checks for error patterns. When an AutoSys job times out, the OS child process dies, but the Oracle session may remain active, holding locks. The next run deadlocks. You must embed a session cleanup guard in the wrapper that kills stale sessions before starting. If the XBP user's password expires, the SAP job stays pending. AutoSys logs show nothing. The only symptom is the job never starts. Always coordinate with the basis team to set the XBP user password to never expire and monitor pending duration. SAP's CPIC listener can return a clean termination code even when the R3 layer chokes. AutoSys sees exit 0 and marks success, but the data is garbage. The fix is the dead man's trigger pattern. Write a sentinel timestamp before the job, check it after, and fail if the delta exceeds a threshold. The dead man's trigger pattern adds a handshake you control. Before the SAP job, write a start timestamp. After the job completes, write another. A downstream validation job checks that both exist and the time delta is under 300 seconds. If not, the job fails with a clear alert. Here's the dead man's trigger implementation. The pre-sentinel writes a start timestamp. The main SAP job runs. The post-sentinel checks the sentinel. If the delta exceeds 300 seconds, the job is forced to fail. This catches cases where SAP returns exit 0, but the data is incomplete. The article recommends whenever SQLERROR exits SQLSQLCODE, but omits that this directive must appear before any SQL statements in the script. If placed after a failed statement, it won't catch that error. Also, it does not trap syntax errors, SB2. Always pair it with a wrapper script that greps for error patterns. The article mentions checking SM37, but doesn't show how to programmatically verify SAP job completion from AutoSys. Use a CMD job that calls a custom ABAP program via RFC to return job status. This allows AutoSys to fail if the SAP job ended with errors. The article notes that AutoSys only tracks submission success for Oracle Elastic Block Store jobs. To verify execution success, you must check the Concurrent Manager log file. The log path is typically $aplog/request ID log. Add a post-job step that greps for completed with errors or warning in that log. When debugging, start by checking the stdout file for error patterns. Use AutoPing to verify SAP agent connectivity. In SAP, use transaction SUIM to check the XBP user status. Also grep the event daemon log for any RFC errors. These 4 steps will identify most silent failures. Let's run through some common interview questions. What job type code is used for SAP jobs in JIL? Job type. How do you call an Oracle stored procedure from AutoSys? CMD job with SQLPlus wrapper. What is the gotcha with SQLPlus and exit codes? SQLPlus returns 0 on SQL errors. How do you handle cross-system failure cascades? Insert validation jobs between steps. And a few frequently asked questions. How does AutoSys integrate with SAP? Via XBP interface with job type. Why does SQLPlus return exit 0 on errors? By design, only connection failures give non-zero. How to prevent silent failures in cross-system workflows. Add validation jobs and error-checking wrappers. To wrap up, always wrap SQLPlus calls in a script that checks for errors. Coordinate with your basis team to keep the XBP user active. Insert validation jobs after every ERP call to catch silent failures. And always capture stdout and stdare, that's where the real errors live. Ready to go deeper? Up next, AutoSys Cloud Workload Automation, then AutoSys Interview Questions and Answers. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at thecodeforge.io.